RMJ Movie Reviews back again with my movie. Well, this isn't really a movie review. This is really more a Blu-ray review, which I don't really do much. This is a Blu-ray review of my crime movie series that has extended way longer than I thought. You guys, this was completely by accident of the 25 anniversary edition of 1992's Juice, baby, starring Tupac Shakur, Omar Epps. Oh man, we all know this is the classic. This is a Blu-ray. Now, I want to further emphasize, I did do an older review of Juice on my channel. This is, I believe, from 2014. If you guys happen to find it on my channel, I look a little bit different, and things were a little bit different then. So, I don't know necessarily if I was in the right state of mind, shall we say, when I did that review. But either way, this is the 25... we all know Paramount does not really seem to care about their titles, unless it's, Indiana Jones or something like that. Lord knows it took them, 50 years to give the Friday the 13th a special edition. And Juice has been on a very terrible, bare bones DVD for years. The really horrible DVD cover where Tupac's gun is actually blurred out on the cover, even though when I saw it in theaters back in 1992, all the covers and the album covers had Tupac with the gun. It's just so stupid because that's the whole point of the movie. But either way, this Blu-ray here, guys, I was walking into Best Buy just chilling out, didn't want to have the intention of buying something, and I just came across this. It was on the shelf. This sucker was $9.99. Brand new. Had to cop it. Let me tell y'all about the features. All right. Commentary by Ernest R. Dickerson. You've got the Juice Now, the making of the film with insight from the filmmakers and the cast. The Wrecking Crew, a look at the cast. Sip the Juice. The music, a look of the music of the film. Stay in the Scene. A vintage interview with all 4 cast members. This is a fantastic Blu-ray, y'all. So far, finally, all the classic hood films from the 90s finally got their just due. New Jack City got a special edition. Boys in the Hood got a special edition. Menace Society got a special edition, but their commentary is not screen specific, so it loses a lot of points for that. I guess the only thing that needs a special edition is House Party, the first one. Maybe Straight Outta Brooklyn. Y'all don't know nothing about. Some of y'all don't know nothing about Straight Outta Brooklyn. And maybe Hanging with the Homeboys. Hopefully those movies will get special editions. I doubt it, but maybe one day they will. But let me tell you, I listened to the commentary from Ernest Dickerson. Ernest Dickerson is a very articulate filmmaker. As we know, he did Surviving the Game. He did Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt. He's done a couple of more. I don't know what he's done the last couple of years, but those are the only ones I can think right offhand. He was a cinematographer for Spike Lee. But very insightful commentary, screen specific. There's a lot of really fine details that you find out about the casting, the filmmaking process, where they shot the film, how the actors work together, certain things in the plot. There's also a little bit of information about the original ending of the film. The original ending of the film, as we all know, spoilers, Bishop falls off the roof or whatever. But in the original ending, Bishop heard the cops coming, and he chose to kill himself. His fate was to choose to die because we all remember there's a through line of the movie. Bishop is the most trouble because his father was a victim of sexual abuse in prison. As Radamez says, prison yard hoe, right? He don't want to end up like his pop. But that establishes really the through line of the film. Bishop's, he saw that his father had his loss of masculinity. That's why Bishop is so like I'm tired of running. I got to own my block. I got to have the juice. Very insightful commentary. It is excellent. You've got the Juice Now, the making of. Really fantastic documentary. You see how they went through the entire casting process. One thing that was really interesting about the movie was that, this is film lore. Everybody already knows that Tupac was not the original runner for Bishop. It was actually Tretch from Naughty by Nature. I think they... all they say is after seeing Jason's lyric, I think it was a very wise choice that they went with Tupac. But either way, Tupac just went there with Trench because they were boys, and Ernest Dickerson was like, "Hey man, you want to read for part 2?" And they was just like, they didn't know Tupac, and this is something I also found out. Tupac was actually he trained in ballet. I know a lot of brothers don't want to hear that, but Tupac, not only was he a trained stage actor because they went to the School of the Arts with Jada Pinkett in Baltimore, but he actually studied ballet. And if you guys can find a really old retro interview on YouTube where Tupac he's got like the Gumby that he had in Juice, but he looks way younger. That's the one where he goes with a girl, where he goes, some girl said he was too nice. You can kind of see parallels of Tupac and Bishop and what he later became in his career, the real Tupac versus how Bishop turned down the movie. You guys get what I'm saying. But either way, I can kind of see that maybe he was, because Tupac was he's very young in that. He was very feminine looking, when he was that young. He grew more, masculine looking as he got older. But they were all young. Omar Epps was also like in a, this is the late 80s, early 90s. So, Omar Epps was like in a singing, like Jodeci type of group. And he was doing the steps and the dancing as everybody was back in that time. Jermaine Hopkins. Jermaine Hopkins, we know from Lean On Me. You smoke crack, don't you, boy? I believe he had done some acting too, but they were all teenagers. They were all 17, 18 at the time. The oldest one, Raheem Khalil Kane, he was actually 26 years old. He was a bartender. So that was a grown man. I mean, he's really crazy. When you watch that movie, he could pass for a 21-year-old. He looks at least 5 years younger than what he is, but that fool was he was much older. Said Tupac used to call him old man on the set. It's great stuff. And a lot of that stuff with Tupac, Big Chops, that was improv. That wasn't written in the script. Samuel L. Jackson's lines, just because you pour syrup on don't mean it. You didn't slid down a razor blade, land in the alcohol river. That's all Sam Jackson stuff. None of that was written in the script. Fantastic. Omar Epps even gives insight into what it was like to work with Tupac. How Tupac would basically, his mind was creative, it was turning, and Pac would like throw stuff at him in the scene, and he said Tupac was so intense and so into it, he said he'd kind of be thrown, but he'd have to come back with something else. Because, Tupac was not only challenging him as the character of Bishop, he was challenging him as a performer, as an actor. So he had to be on his toes to come back with something. They talk about the scene where, spoiler, Raheem dies. And basically, Khalil Kane said that he slammed Tupac when they shot that scene. And said, Pac, you know how ADD Pac is, Pac was like, I'm mad now. And, he basically told him like, hey, look, you got to not let me get that gun. And said Tupac came back amped and was like, all right, for real, you don't want me to let you get the gun? Let's do it. And that's the scene where he shot Raheem. You can see the energy is at a high level. Oh, man, it's great stories. And you actually have a lot of on-set footage. Those of us who are old enough who saw all those movies in the theater, only one I didn't see in the theater was Boys in the Hood. But I saw New Jack in the City, Menace in the City, in the theater, and I saw Juice in the theater when they all came out. But those hood movies all came out about the same time, so you would think that each studio knew about each other. No. If I remember right, I think New Jack City came out in March of 91. Don't quote me, guys, but if I remember right, I think New Jack was March of 91. I think Boys in the Hood was either July or August of 91. But I do remember being at a family reunion, I'm digressing, being at a family reunion that summer and seeing a trailer for Terminator 2 on TV, and then shortly thereafter seeing a trailer for Boys in the Hood because it had that increase the peace thing, and it was like, it just showed the kids looking at the dead body, and it was like, Boys in the Hood, what is that? But either way, Juice went into production of March 1991. That's just to give y'all some idea that New Jack was out at that time, and Boys in the Hood was probably, no movie knew about the other, So, just want to clarify that. And they shot on location in Harlem. There was a lot of big name stars who went out for that movie. Jeffrey Wright from Shaft, Peoples Hernandez from Shaft. He went out for one of the teenagers in Juice. There's a lot of, it's crazy. Ernest Dickerson says there's a lot of famous black actors now who actually read for Juice at the time. There's some other names I can't remember right offhand. And really there were tons of actors. And another thing is, Juice was obviously it was a low budget movie, but it was actually an independent movie. And it was actually the biggest budgeted independent film shot in New York at that time. The budget was $3 million. And it got picked up by Paramount Pictures. So it was an independent production picked up by a major studio for distribution. So that's how the whole Paramount thing. I didn't realize, I don't know that aspect of the movie business, but it heard on the Candyman commentary, digressing, that Candyman, the original film, was an independent production too, and got picked up by I think Polygram or TriStar or whatever for distribution. So a lot of movies are done like that. I guess IE, that's where the film festivals come from. Major studios, I want that movie, and then they sell it for distribution, get distribution, box office or whatever. Wealth of information. Oh yeah, old girl from En Vogue. I'm sorry guys, why am I forgetting her name? But those of us who are old enough to remember the musical group En Vogue, never gonna get it, never gonna get it. She was actually a trained actress. So there's some wrong things that I said in my previous review from a couple years ago. She actually was an actress. And a lot of the musical artists that were in this film, I thought it was stunt casting. It wasn't stunt casting. They were just trying to make this movie as real and make it as hip hop as possible. As we all know, I know this is a long review, y'all, but we all know at kind of the later half of Juice, there's a lot of horror movie glitches, right? Bishop walking out of the shadows. He walks up on Bishop under the stairs, hops out on him in a Halloween Michael Myers-esque kind of fashion. The guys who did the music actually were real live beat boys. They made real beats and tracks and stuff for music at the time. But they actually said they scored it in that fashion. So when they made the soundtrack to Juice, particularly in the last half of the movie when it got dark, all those sounds, Bishop coming out the shadows and the music kind of goes, it makes this funny noise that kind of sounds like something. The guy says it's on footage. He goes, we wanted it to sound like a horror movie, like Friday the 13th, like Freddy, like Halloween. The guy says it. So, this is a wealth of information. This is a fantastic Blu-ray edition. I'm telling you, they knocked it out the park with this. I told a buddy of mine, a friend of mine, I had said years ago that I am not buying Juice on DVD. This was way before the Blu-ray started selling. But I was like, I'm not buying Juice until I get a special edition. Matter of fact, as soon as I bought this, I texted the picture to my buddy and I said, it finally came. Don't get me wrong, it took 10, 11 years because I said this back in, I think, 2006. But we finally got it. Guys, go out and buy this. And also, I just want to say, I haven't watched the movie straight off the Blu-ray because I've seen Juice hundreds of times. I know the movie inside and out. But again, there's not really too much here that I didn't, in terms of just the story in the film, that I didn't know already. I mean, there's maybe a little bit of more subtext that I kind of see a little bit more with Bishop really being the most trouble. But, there isn't anything I didn't already know already. I mean, you have to search yourself in the street. But really kind of more what came out to me more in the movie is that I think when I did the original review for Juice, somebody who viewed my review said he didn't like it because I think in my original review I had called Bishop a coward. I want to retract that statement now a couple years later. I wouldn't say it... I wouldn't say the character of Bishop is a coward. I think really it's that, and I get the person's comment that they left on my channel. I was just kind of, looking at it from the point of view that, man, you murdered your friend, you're going to the funeral and you're lying and you're pretending and you're just complete psychopath here. That's just wrong. But now in perspective, he was damaged. You know what I I think the trauma that inflicted his father was inadvertently passed on to Bishop. And I think that really messed with his psyche. And we see a lot of that stuff in real life. So you really see Bishop really drives all the negative actions in the group. And ultimately, the gun, giving Bishop that gun is what ultimately destroys, is what helped him self-destruct. It self-destructed him. So it kind of, the pattern, the signs were there that Bishop would probably snap eventually, but the gun is what ultimately, that was the final ingredient. So this was a person who was already going to go off, but the gun was, all it took to set him off all the way. And also, I didn't catch the vulnerability in Bishop before, and I caught that this time. And Ernest Dickerson talks about that in the commentary, that Tupac had that, Tretch could really play just the street killer side, but he didn't have the vulnerability. And I think that's one thing that I really like. And don't get me wrong, I know I'm centering on Tupac in this, but everybody is fantastic in this movie. But let me finish up on Tupac. But Tupac's performance is very layered in the fact that he's vulnerable, he's psychotic, he plays the turn very well, and I think in watching a lot of documentaries about actually this type of stuff, like street violence and young kids who commit these horrific murders and stuff, and they go off and do rapes and murder, and a lot of the stuff you'll see on the TV show First 48, who are about the age of these kids in this movie, 17, 16, 15. Matter of fact, I saw a story digressing on First 48 one time where these kids, they were about 16, 17, it was 3 of them, and they were doing drug deals with, I'm only using this to give context to the story, all the kids were black, and these they were a little bit older, they might have been in their early 20s, they were white. Anyway, long story short, the 3 kids did a drug deal ripoff on this couple. They ended up shooting the husband, and they raped the chick. And then the police had interrogated the kids later on. Actually, the first one who raped the guy's wife first. But it was really a trip to see the interrogation and just see. But I'm just connecting it with Juice in the fact that when you get in this situation where somebody who already is damaged has a weapon, that power and control thing, you lose it. And if you already ain't got him, you do just like what Bishop did in that movie. Bishop didn't think he was going to kill the store clerk. He just did it. So I just bring up that story from the TV show The First 48 when the police officer was interrogating the kid who raped the chick and killed the chick and shot the husband. He seemed like he was a nice kid. Look at the movie. Bishop seems innocent. Seems like a nice kid. A little edgy, but nice kid. Horrific stuff. It's just like real life. That's how it happens. It's just how it happens. But very layered, intense, and underneath, heartbreaking performance from Tupac. The guys are all good. Their chemistry is dynamite. Omar Epps does a fantastic job, especially when you got to play off Tupac. And they all play off each other so well because, obviously Tupac has the most intense moments. And then Jermaine Hopkins, too. He has to, bear the brunt of a lot of the fat jokes and the abuse. But Ernest Dickerson also talks about in the commentary how he really is strong underneath. Under that fat boy facade. Great stuff, man. It's really fantastic. Raheem. Raheem was just a dude who basically, he didn't really agree with the robbery thing, but he kind of went along with it because he saw that Bishop was driving the wrecking crew apart, driving the friends apart. Raheem went along with it because he wanted to keep the friends together. I never caught that aspect of it, but I see it now in the story. Q is trying to break off and do his own thing. Bishop wants to get the juice. Steele is just kind of like, hey, he's just kind of rolling along with his boys. But you see how the pieces all come together, and it just created this sad series of events that happened. Guys, buy this Blu-ray. Those of you who are fans of the movie. And when you get to see the retro stuff on the set, you actually get to see the actor who played Radamez and him and Tupac talking about how they're going to do, you know, the opening scene. Bishop, your eyes, punk. And you see him and Tupac talking off camera. And to see him talk, like, not as Radamez, but just as an actor. And he's like, yeah, so that's like, you know, when I say, oh, your prison yard hole, you say, and Tupac is like listening intensely, like, he's like, oh, so then that's when I really lose it, when I come after you. And he's like, yo, that's right. It's great. You see them filming scenes. You see Samuel Jackson filming his scenes. It's great. Man, buy this Blu-ray. Listen to the commentary. Watch all the features. Paramount, you did justice to this movie. This shows you right here. This will show you right here why All Eyes on Me is a piece of garbage. RMJ Movie Reviews, y'all. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, hit the little bell, and leave comments down below about this specific Blu-ray special edition of Blu-ray. RMJ of Juice, RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.